to Making a Mentor. We're the podcast that turns artists and music industry experts into mentors. We invite them onto our podcast and just talk to them about their life experiences and how they've built their careers so far. Who's it for, would you say?
I would say that this podcast is for, right, people who want to have a creative career, people who have a creative hobby that they want to monetize, people who are just generally interested in people in the arts in general and how they've managed to wrangle a career out of it, and anyone who's interested in like what it takes to make a career out of something like this. It is difficult.
Yeah, as we found ourselves.
Well, and also as we found with most of the people coming on our podcast having part-time jobs.
Yeah, of course. So with this episode, we speak to Dave from Sounds of the Streets. Do you want to talk a bit about how we met Dave?
Yeah, so Dave, Sounds from the Street, he's an events promoter. He works with bands around Wigan, and we got a band on the podcast and they spoke really highly of him, and we really wanted to understand a bit more about that other side of I suppose what it's like to be a promoter, what it's like to do it on your own and gain relationship with venues and be a kind of talking point between bands and venues and events and bands. Yeah. You're kind of this kind of in-between person, and what the role of a promoter is, not in terms of logistically, but what it's like to try and do that and to be passionate about it, and how we build it up, I suppose. Yeah,
I think a lot of what came out of it as well is like, not just, as you said, it's not just what you're doing day to day for that practical sort of advice for it, but what toll does it have on you? How does it make you feel? What are you doing it for? What is it like when you've got a full-time job and you do that on the side, mainly as a passion to start it off with? A lot of our guests have said passion has been the main things that sort of kept them going through it, because at the start of most of your careers, you're doing most of it for free, right?
Yeah, you are doing most of it for free, or you at least doing something for free. You're lucky to do it for free. Yeah. In a way, if you can get the opportunity to do it at all, for any kind of platform person that you're interested in, working for free in a way, do you know what I mean? You're actually above the norm. Yeah. To be working for free, which is why I think we're so interested in people who've been able to make any kind of success or traction with their idea. And I think, what's clear when people see this one is that Dave leaves a really great impact on the people that he works with, and he's been able to maintain, adapt around the changes of his music taste and the changes of his life. He's got a family. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting podcast.
Yeah, I think one of the big things I learned from it, like you said, just touching on then, is everybody, Kaaria, who's going to be coming out in our episode after this, Kane, who was our previous podcast episode as well, they all speak so highly of him because of the way that he as a promoter treats them. He touched on it.
Pays them for a start.
Yeah, pays them. He gets them pizzas, he gets them beers. He just is there to support them all the time, and to him it almost felt like that's just the normal thing you do. And speaking to those guys outside of this podcast, like Cav, they kind of mentioned that doesn't happen all the time. In fact, that very rarely happens, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, enjoy the episode, and I suppose what I would say to people listening to this one is, every promoter's going to have a different story and going to have a different take on what that is. Someone who's trying to make a career financially out of being a promoter would still have something to learn from Dave, even though that's not what he's doing. So I suppose without further ado, Sounds from the Street.
Welcome back to Making a Mentor. We're here with Dave from Sounds of the Street. Dave, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good yourselves?
Oh yeah, fine.
Good, mate. Good.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on. We obviously went to one of your events and did some stuff here and got chatting for you, and yeah, we were kind of really interested in what you were doing in the local scene and kind of how you got started in it and stuff. So thanks for coming on and chatting to us, man. It means a lot. So I suppose, go on.
I was going to say, you got Sounds of the Street Wigan. Do you just want to talk about what Sounds of the Street Wigan is at the moment, what you're getting up to now?
Yeah, we're, I say we, it's me.
Me, myself and I.
I put bands on they can be from anywhere. Whichever band's kind of fit into my night, so it's doing indie rock, post-punk, grunge, whatever kind of I think fits in. And so we started last year. We had our band approached us, saying did we want to do our first night, and it ended up being the first week when everything opened again, so I thought, I can't turn that down. A local band wanted to do the first gig with me.
Yeah.
And a band called The Facades supported. And we got a band from Liverpool called Nocturnal Coast, and we sold 265 tickets, I want to say.
Nice.
So it was a good way to kind of start, a good way to kick things off.
Yeah. I imagine that's quite good encouragement, actually. You start off with one of your first gigs and you get like a turnout like that.
Yeah, it was mad from start to finish, and I think we gained quite a few new followers and things, if you like, and because I'm trying to move over from what I used to do, from the old name, and it's, I think when people they ask about the old nights I used to do and the old name. And a different type of music. I think it's trying to bring those people that used to come to my old gigs into this kind of scene. And
so what, just interestingly, what would you say is kind of the difference between the two, like, and what made you make that change?
Well, my music taste changed. I think I started getting into bands like the Blinders and who I put on one of my older nights, and then you discover all these other bands, and then I noticed there was like a good kind of community kind of feel to the Wigan scene. There was loads and loads of bands coming through. And I thought, right, let's start something fresh here. And it does feel different.
Yeah.
Different. I won't say different type of people, but different people, different music tastes, and people are wanting to come out to music gigs again, and it feels really good. It's exciting.
Do you think maybe, like, just curious really, do you think maybe the whole COVID stuff has brought more people that were maybe always into gigs but maybe had stuff in their life that just took over that too much, now pay much more attention to, like, no, I want to go and see live music because I've had so long without it? Do you think that's affected, like, the work that promoters have been getting recently, like having more people in venues? Like, I
mean, it's affected different promoters in different ways.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just bad luck. I don't know, but I've done all right out of it.
Yeah.
Recently, I've not had to cancel any gigs. I've not had to. I nearly did when we had the racket on. Was it the racket? Yeah, and I'd got COVID.
No way.
Week before, yeah, and I tested negative about 2 days before.
Oh wow.
So I was very close to like cancelling that one. But apart from that, generally they've all been good attendances. I mean, selling tickets is a new one for me.
Yeah.
I was always people, just waiting for the night and see who turns up on the night, and that's terrifying.
Yeah.
I think with tickets, even though one or two we've only had like one particular night we didn't have so many tickets, you wait to see how many more you sell on the night and who comes through the door. But no, they've all worked out pretty well. I think some have been better than others.
Yeah.
Like you'll always get. But I think even if you sell, for me, between 30 and 50 tickets, at least there's people coming.
Yeah, there's a bit of an appetite for it.
Do you think there's anything like that you've ever figured out or put in place that you could advise someone that say this is some things that you could do if you're trying to put on an event that you think could maybe try and sell more tickets, all beforehand, like social media or posters or?
Not for selling more tickets wise, but it is easy. Like I think back in the day when you had like all you had was physical tickets, you had to go around to people's houses and say, "Oh no, will you just buy a few off me now?" It's all like.
Yeah. Remember, we used to have to, if you did a pay to play, you used to have to stand outside the streets if you hadn't sold them and just sell them off to people walking.
Yeah,
past.
you always think of selling tickets, and that's.
Now,
I think the good thing is now, with pay to play. I mean, I think people say it still does exist, which is a horrible thing.
He hates pay to play, so
those kind of promoters, they're dying out. But now I think with online tickets, it's. You can you get people paying up to the last minute. You don't have to physically go around and sell them and walk around and poster everywhere like you had to do. And because when I used to put gigs on when I first started, it was like generally word of mouth.
Yeah.
First few years, until the internet came and stuff. But you'd have to try and put but then you've got your laws about fly postering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No,
one promoter who's no longer with us, he used to always get in trouble off the council for doing that.
Just putting them everywhere?
Yeah. But you see them all the time from like these circus places, don't you? And the fair and you think.
I suppose they're leaving, aren't they, in a couple of weeks, and they have to deal with the consequences. They're packing up the tent and they're off.
So, I think people that buy the tickets, they generally want to come and, they're not just coming because it's me anymore, like they used to, and to support me. It's not because they want to come and see the bands, and it's all going pretty well at the minute.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could go into like the ticket part as well. So say I was a promoter who's trying to sell a few tickets on, like what platform specifically are you going on and using to put your event up there? Like, because I know Skiddle's around and this sort of thing.
Skiddle that's what I've been using basically. I've just found it dead easy. I mean, I had to ask a mate from a local band to explain to me how to do it. But it's great. It's just a case of, obviously they've got quite a high reach, and they're quite big Skiddle, aren't they? So you just put them on there. I think once you've done one gig with them, it's just dead easy after that.
Yeah, everything's pretty much set up then, innit? And then you just copy paste all your events in from there.
And the payment things are pretty straightforward. You can put the payment up. You can put whatever booking price on you want. So if you put your tickets down as a £5 and put it down as £1, then obviously the customer will pay it rather than this big thing comes back on you. And
I see what you mean. So all of a sudden you're paying for everything.
Yeah, it's not like Ticketmaster where you're paying for your ticket and then you're paying a booking fee and then you're paying a Wednesday fee and a it's nearly Christmas fee and
you've clicked 5 times fee.
So yeah, it is. I think people don't mind using Skiddle. I think when I first started doing them, it sounds from the street. I was using the Boulevards website.
Oh yeah.
But the problem with that was they can only use PayPal. I used to get people coming to me all the time. Are the tickets still on sale? I say it's on this Boulevard website. Oh, is it PayPal?
Oh,
I don't have PayPal. I ain't using PayPal.
No.
What's PayPal? What's PayPal, pal? I
don't know, mate. Sorry.
So it's not something I use a lot of, to be honest. But and then I discovered Skiddle. I thought let's do it this way. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
You get the money that comes in on the Thursday. I think so my gig's on the Friday. So you put into like 8 o'clock maybe going offline. You got all your tallies because you can split up into say like how many each band sold.
Oh, I see.
Which is more for their sake, so I can say, right, this is what you're going to get. This is what. So rather than all the bands take a door share. So if a band brings loads, another band doesn't bring a lot.
Yeah. Then
they're not all getting the same.
Okay.
So they're all getting a fair whack.
Got you.
So they get what they deserve. Basically, I mean, I'll always if a band doesn't bring a lot, which you expect sometimes, they'll always go on with a decent amount.
Yeah. That's good.
But I think it's better that band who brings a lot, or they're more rewarded for.
Yeah,
I do it for more to reward them
really
more than anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I guess like the finances part is an interesting one for me because like I guess you don't really think about it at first, but like say you were first starting off. You mentioned before, like, so you get your venue hire through the Boulevard that you get it for free, or do you have to rent it out?
They give them for free.
Yeah. So what does like the overheads of like one of the average gigs like look like for you? Like, what is it that you have to finance yourself? And I guess the money covers that through the tickets, obviously. But like, what would it be like initially if you were starting off and you were going into the Boulevard getting those bands together? What is it that you'd need to get going?
We've got to think about your posters.
Yeah.
Unless you can do them by yourself.
So you're paying someone like a graphic designer or something of that nature to like.
I've got somebody who I found on Facebook.
Yeah,
he designs the posters. Will Hissett. So I'll give my ideas to him. sometimes not many ideas, but he still comes up with something.
Nice.
I like to give him a blank canvas, but he'll always come up with the goods. I think that's a good thing to have somebody that knows what they're on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been good at stuff like that. It's not my thing. All the kind of what's it called? Photoshop and all that. Yeah. Somebody with a graphic mind is good. Unless you can do it yourself. You can do it yourself. You know, you save a bit more money.
So obviously they're for your posters, and then you're putting them on social media as well. That's presumably.
Yeah,
so that's handy as well.
What else?
Does he give you both of those, like just a digital version of it as well?
Yeah, so he'll send me all the digital version and make a square type one for Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Obviously then go on and get your posters printed out. So if you've got a printer, you can you can have the ink yourself. That might save you a bit of money.
Yeah.
And how do you distribute them? So like, are you going into shops to put them anywhere? Do you have to pay for?
I used to do.
Spots? Yeah.
I should do more of it really, but I feel like I've done all right so far.
Yeah.
I think these days with social media, people who come to your gig have seen it on social media. I don't think there's as much for a calling as doing the in shops thing and going round, local places on such a night and going.
Well, those boards used to be the place where you find your information for things in a town, right? But now with social media, obviously,
because that change has happened kind of in amongst our kind of lifetimes, weirdly, hasn't it? That has kind of filtered out. Like, did you now pay more attention to social media than what you must have done than before you did, like 8-10 years ago, right?
Yeah, that's where I find a lot of my bands, and sometimes you get like word of mouth and what have you, and obviously things like Spotify help.
Yeah.
Because I think back in the day, even growing up, like, listen to this album by such a body, or you might have to tell them to go and buy it, or I'll copy it here, or now it's just a click.
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously got your downsides to Spotify, haven't you, for bands and things, and
It's just the saturation of it. You
I
get
think,
lost in there, can't you?
I think it's a complex one, Spotify as well, because like one of the things I really got into recently, like there's another podcast I listen to that's about music marketing. One of the things they talk about with Spotify is like, actually, in a way, Spotify's always said that its job was that it was going to send you similar artists, and then any money that it has left, it's going to give the artist. So I feel like what a lot of bands struggle with, and I definitely struggled with when I started making music, was that I felt like Spotify should pay me.
Yeah.
Like I'd wrote, and on some level, what I think is interesting about Spotify is like what you said it's useful for is what it will actually do is show you bands that you potentially would have never found.
Yeah.
I think it's a weird, interesting service, Spotify, and that we don't really understand. Do you know what I mean? It's quite like, it's quite deeper than what it looks on the outside, like, because streaming has changed so much of the music industry, like all of it, in a way, right?
Well, yeah, it's changed the distribution of the way that the artists get stuff out there to begin with, like you said.
Change labels.
Before then, it was an experience to go take your mate your CD and sit there and play it and
Yeah.
listen to it. And stuff.
But I remember Dave Grohl. I think it was Dave Grohl that said something when we had the days of like Napster, LimeWire.
Oh yeah.
Of basically, I don't care how these people have heard my music. If they're coming to my shows or my gigs, then that's
it.
That's it. That's
And that's what it was usually for, right? So you didn't make that well. You made more money through physical distribution, but like you said, all of the revenue usually for an artist is
live events.
Like it's their biggest.
But then if you compare it to using LimeWire and Napster and
True,
the Torrent Bay and Pirate Bay and all that kind of crap, people listen to it for free.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you compare it to that, then. But it's not as it should be a lot higher. Bands should be getting a lot higher. They shouldn't have to rely on merch, and merch should be as well.
Yeah, it's true.
It's stupidly low Spotify, isn't it? For bands, if I was in a band, I'd be.
It is frustrating. I think it is frustrating. I think as what a lot of people do is rely on stuff like Bandcamp for that, which is kind of offering what the other thing was. It's kind of offering your. But yeah, it's a complex one, isn't it? Because I suppose, I saw the statistic the other day, it's like 12,000. I'll have to put this on the video if I'm wrong. But I'm sure it's 12,000 new songs are put on Spotify every day. So you can imagine the amount that they would have to pay.
That's scary, that, isn't it?
And it makes you feel as well, as an artist, like, bloody hell, what kind of chance have I got?
But the amount of new fans bands are making through Spotify.
Well, yeah, if you're not out there, then you're missing that completely. So as much as like that pay is low and it's a hard pill to swallow,
the service is still good enough that they all do it.
Yeah,
like the like a band's radio. So when is it about like a particular band's radio? They're like a radio thing where they can pick like a set of songs.
Of course,
it's like a playlist. But
so they make like a playlist of their influences.
So when you finish playing all their stuff, it doesn't just go around again. It goes on to like almost like the playlist thing.
Yeah.
And I discovered bands. A few different bands like Black Country, New Road after listening to Courtins.
And it comes up.
And I was like, what's this? And it's like, because you forget, you just listened that long, so this isn't the same band, and then you look and it's alright.
That's what I mean, it's an outlet. What they actually have that Deezer and Apple Music are so jealous of is this kind of algorithm that suits your taste and pushes new music out to you. And I do think that on a level that is why it's, I mean, I know this sounds a little bit stupid, but take Spotify out of context. It's a green logo that looks like a kind of nature logo.
Yeah.
It's got a name that doesn't scream music to me, but the service is, you think music, you don't think Apple Music, you think Spotify, or at least I do. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but I think there's something in what they've been able to offer for me, like when I think about Discover Weekly, I think the same, so many things I found,
all the time.
And I do think that there is something to be said for trying to grab that opportunity as a new band rather than run from it, even though it is fundamentally unfair. But I think so much of the industry is.
Yeah.
On some level,
I mean, from a music fan's point of view, it's great. It's like I describe it to people as walking into like a big musical library. Imagine like a big massive room, and you can just go anywhere, A to Z or whatever, just go and pick something.
Literally.
I know it wasn't obviously like there's a few latecomers, weren't there, like your Beatles and Metallica and Tool, was it?
Yeah. Metallica was a big one, because going back to that Napster thing, they were like infamous for being like really anti-piracy, because they were like, well, we rightfully deserve to get paid for everything. That's where I think like the whole Dave Grohl thing was like, just pay me, come to my live event and listen to me live, and I'll that's all I really care about. But
then it's like
I personally believe that if you've sat and curated that music, and you deserve to be paid for it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it needs to be pushed up.
Yeah.
As much as it can be.
I think the whole system needs to. I know we're getting a little bit deep on this topic. I do think it's quite interesting that there's a lot of stuff that's coming out recently about this idea that soon digital content in like an NFT format is going to be bought for like a small price. So artists are probably in the future going to tailor stuff that is like what you would. So you'll be able to stream stuff, and then you'll get like a small package that's say £2.50, £2.10 from the distributor of that artist, and you get like pictures of them, some unique videos, because the video is kind of dead, and that the artist will pay for that. And if you're a fan, I would probably spend £2.50 on something like Idols and want to have like a one-off piece of content for them. So there's a lot of people that think that might come in and save Spotify, because Spotify are on about hosting this Web3 service on Spotify.
Okay.
So when you go on someone's Spotify, it might say, for example, at the top, get a one-off track from this artist for 50p, and then all of that goes to the artist. So I think there's hope for me that, because the way I see it now is that we're not going to go backwards. We're not going to start selling CDs again. Vinyls are never going to overtake streaming. So what can we do in the future that kind of gives artists that freedom? I'm very interested in that topic.
Yeah.
Like, I think it might be this kind of digital audio NFT kind of space stuff, but I suppose I'm speculating quite a lot. But I find it very interesting. It is interesting how what the value is of music, because we value music so much as a society and as individuals, but yet we don't actually see the value as much of it anymore because we consume it for free.
Yeah, don't they say, is it something like 4,000 or 5,000, well, it's probably more, probably 8,000 streams is one t-shirt.
Yeah.
Or one CD or whatever.
It's mad, isn't it?
So if you buy your bands, this is why they're kind of big on merch, isn't it? Because if you buy one of their t-shirts, that's like
8,000.
That's like 8,000, maybe more streams, which is bad.
It is bad, really. Think about how many people that is as well. I think that's why a lot of bands go over to stuff like YouTube as well, to try and like just get whatever they can.
Because that's the best. I reckon that's the best rate, don't they?
They pay the best,
That was part 1 of Making a Mentor, Dave from Sounds from the Streets. If you liked this podcast, check out part 2, coming soon.